So, yeah, I'm Andrew. I'm going to talk a little bit about suppose life. I was thinking, like, when I got the prompt, actually, like a week or so ago, to actually talk about this. I was kind of thinking about, like, what's the best thing I can talk to a group of like 8 to 12 kids and maybe some parents. What I think could actually help you the most. And so, I mean, I listened through the last two presentations. They talked a lot about, I'd say, details and specific advice. In this presentation, what I want to talk more about is about how do you approach life. I think that you can always find advice from people on small details, right? Small things you could be doing better. I think what is always going to be the most important thing is how you approach life in general. It's your mindset, how you deal with things, and it's how you move forward. And that's why I titled this Forward, how you go through life. So disclaimer, actually, I think that in any scenario where someone talks a lot about life and talks a lot about how you approach something as abstract as living, you should definitely take the words with a grain of salt. And what that means is that you have to take the words that I'm saying and think about them, digest them, and then see whether or not they apply to you. I'm not like some super experienced 90-year-old man. I am literally only 19 years old. But that doesn't mean I don't have anything good to say. I still lived a life, and there are experiences I can talk about that I can draw on. And from my perspective, these are just the things I'm about to tell you are the things that I've come to believe from what I've seen through my life and through my friends. And so actually, I'm not really expecting that at the end of this, maybe you like totally change your mindset on life. All I ask is that you take my words and you'll think about them and you'll reflect on them. Okay, so let's actually get started on like what I want to say. So the first thing I guess is most important is for me to introduce myself. So about me, as was graciously given at the start, I am a freshman or just completed my freshman year at MIT, so class of 2023. I'll be double majoring in chemistry and computer science. I am currently doing undergraduate research at the MIT Little Devices Lab, which is a, essentially we develop technology towards helping, or towards medical technology that helps underdeveloped countries. So if you imagine clients we'll work with are hospitals in like Spain, Puerto Rico, countries that don't have as developed medical systems, and thus they need advanced medical technology that can kind of help them, also being at a really cheap price. And I'm also, in 2018, in my junior summer, I attended the International Chemistry Olympiad in the Czech Republic and Slovak Republic, and I won a gold medal. And so those are all the things that if you looked at my resume, if you looked on my LinkedIn or whatever, wherever you go, you could probably find these about me. And sure, I think to a lot of you that are here, this is probably what's important about me. You probably wouldn't listen to me if I didn't have any of these credentials, right? That's not that they're all there is to me. There's a lot of other things that are about me. So for example, I love to play video games. I played like Minecraft when I was in middle school. Played League of Legends for literally 8 years, I think. 7 or 8 years of my life, actually. So a long, long time I've played this game. Played trading card games, actually. When I was in high school, I went to like tournaments to play card games against other people. And that was a big portion of my life. I spent like, the day I spent 10 hours straight playing card games only. I'm a teacher, so I taught sometimes online. I teach like, there's an awesome math summer program where like kids, high school kids and middle school kids from across the country can go to a campus and get like competition math instruction. So I taught at one of those camps. And I also like to play Ultimate Frisbee. So it's a sport, I like to play it. Fun game whenever I see friends, I can play it. So yeah, so like one end, right? Probably I don't have the stuff at the front, I'm maybe not as important to listen to. I also think if I don't have the stuff at the bottom, I'm also not worth listening to, because then I can't tell you what I'm about to tell you. I don't have these experiences. I don't have a holistic view of how the world works. So that's why I really wanted to emphasize who I am, this box, everything that I am. Okay, so the first thing I actually want to talk about that I think is the most important thing that helped me is reflection. And what that means, at least to me, is how you deal with failure. Because like it or not, it doesn't matter who you are, you're going to fail. And I mean, everyone learns to cope with that different ways. And for me, I learned to cope with that. And I think that was a massive portion of why I actually managed to succeed in the end. So how do we deal with failure? Well, a lot of people, so I kind of want to address this kind of portions, I think, to failure. So for example, a lot of people, one of the things they struggle the most with failure, they attach their self-worth to failure. You've probably heard it before. You probably even thought about this before, right? You're thinking that like, oh my gosh, if I don't get into this college or if I don't get into this program, I'm just like a loser. I'm worthless, you know, like all that kind of stuff. And I think this is one of the biggest reasons people have a bad view of failure. I think that one of the most important things you can do as a person is to realize that failure should never be tied to your self-worth. And if you fail, it's just another tick on your record. It's something in your mind. It doesn't mean you're any less of a person. You'll always be the same person, and you can always achieve the same thing, regardless of whether you fail. If you think about it, actually, if I did chemistry, right, and I accomplished the same thing, I studied as hard as I did, and I went to the International Chemistry Olympiad, and say I didn't even score a medal, that I just got a participation prize. This would not mean I'm any worse of a chemist now than I was, or if I had a gold medal now. Because at the end of the day, prize is just that, prize. Right? Your prize does not dictate your experiences and your skills. Those are things you'll always have, regardless of whether you fail or whether you succeed. And so that's why I think the first thing that's most important for any person is to understand that self-worth should not be tied with failure. And I guess the next point is kind of similar, right? That when people fail, they despair. Get lost in the idea that if I fail, I'm never going to achieve anything. And again, this is the same problem. It's that failure should not cause you despair. I think one of the big things you can look at is that failure doesn't have to mean failure. Failure is an opportunity to also to try something else. I can give a personal example. So when I was in middle school, I did math counts. Probably some of you are familiar with this. It's a math competition. And essentially the way it works is like you have some kids, you go to some place, like at some regions it's maybe like 100 kids in a room, take some math tests, you solve some math problems, and you get a score based on how many problems you solve. And if you score high, you place well. And so essentially when I was in 8th grade, so the last year of middle school, there's a state competition. If you do well at the state competition, you go to the nationals, yada, yada, like the classics. And so in my 8th grade year, so if you get the top 4, you got to go to nationals. And so I studied really hard. I thought this was important to me. I actually, unfortunately, attach a lot of my self-worth to how good I was at this math competition. And I got to the state competition, I took the test, and what do you know, I scored 5th place. And I mean, it was more than that, I guess. I scored 5th place on a tie. And it was at that moment where I despaired. I'm not gonna lie. I got on like a stage, right, where you get your medal, and I almost broke down crying. That was a big failure for me. But it's not. Once you look back, and once I realize and once I think about it, it's not a failure. Actually, it's the very opposite failure, because it was a chance. The chance for me to look into myself and to actually find what I'm interested in doing, and realize and to think for myself why I thought I was a failure, why I thought that 5th place was so bad. And after thinking about it, I realized that it's not bad. And I realized that it doesn't affect my self-worth, shouldn't affect my self-worth whatsoever. That it doesn't matter to me, and it shouldn't matter to anyone if I got 5th place that day. So that's what I think is really important. It's one of these moments where, and this is bringing me to the second point, where stopping and reflecting is one of the most important things you can do in your life. Time doesn't stop. You know, if I stop and I take a nap, or if I take a breather of an hour to go think about my life, time doesn't stop. But you can make your life take a break. That's really important, I think, for a lot of people. The opportunity to stop and to take a look at yourself and to think, to understand what you've done to get to your point, where you are, and what you need to do to get where you want to be. And this is beyond anything else, the most important thing that I did in my life, I think made a big difference. It's to stop and to think to myself, look at what I've done, to look what just happened to me, and to reflect. And so this brings to me to my first point in this kind of sub-column, to think to yourself, will this matter to me in 10 years? This actually was a quote from one of my best friends in middle school. He talked to me and he told me about this. It said, yeah, if I look at a failure, even if I look at a success, does this matter in 10 years? It's the exact same reasoning. Like this middle school math competition, I scored 5th place. Does anyone care in 10 years? And I can tell you, it's already been like 6 years and no one cares. No one cares whatsoever that I scored 5th place. That's so important to realize for anything. It doesn't matter 10 years. It doesn't have to be 10 years. It might not even matter in a couple months. This is so important because it lets you let things go. Oh, wait, 1 second. Okay, so that's the next point, right, is when you reflect, right, part of making failure not a failure is thinking about how can you do better. I'm not gonna lie, like when I say failure isn't really failure, I mean, this isn't an abstract notion. There's no way to turn a failure truly into a success, right? You can't just make it what you want. The reason a failure will never be a complete failure is when you can do things like this, when that's, think about how you can improve. One of the favorite things that I like to say in middle school was that lose is improve. It's simple, it's 3 words. Lose is improve. It even rhymes, you know, it's amazing. And if you think about it, when you lose, it's an opportunity. That's all it is. That's all life will ever be, is opportunities. Because you can always look at yourself, you can always find your mistakes when you lose, and then you can get better. Just like when you win, you can find your mistakes and get better. Because at the end of the day, just like with failure, you can look at a result just reflects where you are now. It doesn't reflect where you will be tomorrow, and it doesn't reflect where you were yesterday. And that's what matters. How can I do better? Another thing to think about when you reflect is, why is it a failure? Why do you think of something as a failure? Is it because parents told you that if you don't get into this college, we're going to disown you? Or is it because you think that your friends won't be friends with you anymore if you don't go to the same high school as them? Because I can tell you that none of those will ever be true. Well, at least I hope they'll never be true. I really do. So big thing is to understand why things are failures. And because once you understand why you think something is a failure, you understand something about yourself. When you understand things about yourself, this is what makes you a better person. I think the best people you'll ever find are people who understand themselves. So that's why I think these 3 things are the most important things you can do when you fail. This is when you can reflect and you can take time and you can stop. Okay, so enough talking about failure. It's probably nice to talk about success, so let's move on. All right, so success, question mark. Because after all that talk about failure, we really think about success in the same way. So what is success? Well, I mean, it's a word that we float around, but I think actually that very few people really know what success means. Actually, I don't think I know what success means. If you asked me when I was in middle school what I wanted to be when I grew up, I would always tell you the answer is happy. Because frankly, I don't think I know, and I don't think most people can know what success truly means. If you think success means having $1 trillion, well, good for you. I mean, you can get $1 trillion and then maybe reflect on your decision. But frankly, I think it's important to, if you want to think about success, you can only really think about it in the context of a goal. And maybe if you set goals for yourself and meeting a goal of success, then sure, that's a thing to do. And so I think this is kind of leading back to reflection. It's that just like understanding your failures, understanding your successes is just as important. It's really important you understand why you think something is a success. Also, you understand what you need to do from where you are, where you want to be, actually achieve that success. Because this does two things, actually. One, I mean, frankly, it's pretty obviously, right? It gets you organized. It lets you look at your life and you can see what you need to do. Secondly, it makes you understand whether your goals are reasonable. If my goal right now is to become the president of the United States, well, if I think that's success, well, this just makes no sense, right? All of you could tell me this is a dumb idea. And so frankly, understanding, like looking at your goals and measuring them against where you are and where you want to be, this is another amazing thing you can do for your life, because then, again, you understand yourself better. And that is crucial. Okay, and then some people might define success as happiness and fulfillment. And I mean, I guess I've more or less covered this already. It's that if you look at happiness and you look at fulfillment, it's really important that you understand what those mean to you. Again, it's frankly that you understand yourself. This can be most important towards achieving happiness and fulfillment. So for example, I guess I can talk a little more about my experiences. So when I was in high school, I thought for a long time that getting to like the International Chemistry Olympiad was make me happy. It would be my success, would be my fulfillment. And I can say to some extent it didn't. Like I worked for this goal and I achieved something. I was proud of it. Then at the end of it, you start to realize what does it mean? And that it doesn't actually mean that much. It's an award. It'll look good to everyone else. Happiness and fulfillment is not about everyone else. It's always about you. And so if you want to be happy, if you want to fulfill, that means chasing something that you're going to desire continuously. It's never resting. It's always moving forward. I think that's something else that's really important to understand. So lastly, just to wrap up kind of talking about success versus failure, I think it's important to understand there are two sides of the same coin. Success and failure will never truly be two distinct things. And this is true for a lot of things, and it's an important concept to understand. For example, if I did a competition, so even, for example, we can talk about the Chemistry Olympiad. You got a gold medal, and many of you, that looks like a success, but actually, you know that like the International Chemistry Olympiad can award a gold medal to all of the top 30 participants. Well, then a silver medal can be awarded, I think, to maybe the top like 60, 90, something like that. So, sure, yeah, top 30 is a success. To some people, it was a failure. One of my teammates, he looked at his gold medal as a failure because he didn't win first place overall. It's things like this. You realize there's a distinction, not a distinction, actually, between success and failure. You can start to understand this concept, where if I placed 50 out of 100 in a competition, is that a success? Is that a failure? Who knows? More importantly, who cares? Because the success and failure, it doesn't matter the distinction between them. It's all about what you do with it that makes it success or failure. Okay, the last big slide I want to get to is giving advice, kind of, because again, like I said in the disclaimer, I don't know if I'm the most qualified person in the world to give you advice. I guess I will start, and I think that most importantly is to finding out what success means to you. It's looking at your friends, looking at your family, looking at basically anything you do in your life, understanding what it means to you. For example, I mentioned at the beginning that I like to play a lot of video games. Actually, I played lots and lots of video games. I don't know, on an average school day, maybe play like 3 or 4 hours of video games. And I mean, sometimes my parents get mad or whatever, but it was a part of my life. Actually, I felt like that was a success because I could do my work well enough and fast enough. I could play games and I could have fun. And before that, when I was in middle school, I didn't get to play games. And success to me was actually a lot more focused on just doing well in a competition. That was a turning point when I failed, right? But I understood maybe my success came not from myself. It wasn't something I was doing because I was excited or I enjoyed it, because it was about maybe my friends or my parents actually wanted this for me instead. And I think this was an important distinction to realize, because then I understood why I didn't succeed, because I wasn't in immersed enough in it. And also I understood why it wasn't important at the end of the day. I could find something that actually made me happy instead. And so that brings us to the second point. Once you know what you want and why you want it, you can work for it. Every step of the way, every time you get an achievement, every time you get a setback, evaluate. Take time to pause and reflect. This is the most important thing you can do. It's always just about reflection. It will never be easy. I can promise this. I've experienced. I'm sure many of your parents have more experience than I. What you can always do to help it make it easier is to reflect. And so that brings me to the last thing that I can give you, the most important thing, to live your own life. The meme, some people used to say, like, YOLO, right? You only live once. And it's true. Do only live once. And I think it's most important that you make that once count. And that's it. I'll open it to questions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Andrew. That's very great. Life lessons. Does anyone have any question? Okay, I see a question. How many university offers did you receive after receive gold medal in chemistry Olympiad?
So I don't know about university offers, but I mean, the college application process, I applied to 8 colleges, MIT, Purdue, and Caltech. And I got into Purdue and MIT, not Caltech. And yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Because I thought in China, you know, if you got a gold medalist, it's like all country, I mean, all the top universities would admit you. So it's not the same case here, right? Okay.
No, it's not the same.
All right. Is there any other question? What is your league username?
I can type it in chat later.
Okay. All right. Okay, I see. What rank were you? Okay, guys. Okay, I see a question from a parent. How much talent does it to receive a gold medal in chemistry Olympiad? You know, for normal kids with normal IQ, do you think they have a chance, or it's better for them to focus on something else? Yeah, I think many parents have the same question. Yeah.
Okay, this is actually, I guess this is an important question I should address. I've thought about this. Obviously, I don't know the answer. If you think about like IQ and normal kids, these are all subjective definitions, right? You can never point to someone and call them normal kid. And I don't think that like a big portion of it is IQ or talent. I think a lot of it stems down to passion. Even from kids that I've taught, that the biggest difference I can see is when they care. It's about passion, and it's about whether their heart is into studying it. No amount of talent can make up for someone not caring about what they're studying. And I think then that's maybe in some sense talent matters. I can't give you end-all be-all answer. If you want to say a normal kid has no chance, I will definitely dispute that. I think everyone has a chance. I think if working hard enough, anyone can get there. It's maybe just a question of how much work it requires. I will certainly never ever say anyone has no chance.
Okay, good. Thank you. Do you recommend doing problems at home or learning new things as a priority? That's a question from Alex.
Yeah, so I mean, this is getting into some kind of details in terms of like studying. Obviously, like I think one of the most important things is to realize is that it always depends on where you are, how you learn. Everyone learns differently. This is definitely true. And I think that, for example, if you are new to chemistry and you don't know anything, doing problems doesn't help you because you won't even be able to do the problems, right? In that case, it makes a lot more sense to read a textbook, start learning, or like watch some videos or something online, and to like learn new material. For others who have learned all the material, but they're not, for example, they don't have problem-solving mindset, And it's way more important to start to do problems. I think actually, I wanted to touch on this, but I kind of forgot, is that actually one of the most important things you can train yourself is not to focus on information, but to focus on problem solving. Because these are skills that'll serve you no matter what field you go into. It doesn't matter like what you grow up into. If you become like a physicist instead of a chemist, you can still do well if you know how to think. I think that's something else that's important to think about.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Let me see. What is recommended age to start learning chemistry and physics? Are you offering tutoring to elementary kids? Okay, do you mind share your contact info? Okay.
So, I mean, I don't tutor elementary kids. I don't even tutor. I think I have. I mean, I taught math to middle school kids, but I don't think I've taught chemistry to middle school kids before. In terms of like recommended age, I think this boils down to my answer to one of the previous questions, that it's when they start getting interested in chemistry. If you're giving them tutoring in chemistry, but they don't care about it, it's just wasting your money and it's wasting their time. It's really about like, and if they're interested in it, get them to study in it. If they're not, it's really just a waste.
Okay, we have a question. How did you find your passion?
I mean, like as I mentioned, I mean, I liked math originally. I still actually like math, if I'm being honest. But I tried chemistry. I found I liked it a lot more, and it was something. I mean, a little more about myself is that I hate to read. Actually, I don't read books. But I actually found that if I was like reading chemistry, I could actually get interested in it, and that was kind of like a sign to me, like, oh, maybe this is something I should work hard on, and found that I actually liked working hard on chemistry, and this is how I got interested in it.
Okay, yeah, I love chemistry more than math. Okay, good. Since we have some chemistry lover. Okay, all right, let me see. How do you like your first year at MIT? Yeah, you actually just talk about failure, desperation. So I guess when you first year at MIT, they're full of genius around you, right? So how's your first year there?
Yeah, so I mean, actually, I think it's actually true that about MIT is just that there is this problem that a lot of people have. It's just like, they call it an imposter syndrome, where you feel like you don't belong, that everyone else is smarter than you, because the classes are so hard that like you feel like it's like a fluke that you got in. And I think this is a very common problem. I think that actually, like, one of the big reasons that for my first year at MIT, I was like, chill. You know, I went to classes, I had a good time, I got to talk with friends, spend time with friends, and play games and actually do well in my classes. Was just that so that I could take, like, maybe I could get a bad grade on an assignment or something, but I could take it in stride and I can move forward from it, right? And I can improve. So I think that, like, generally overall my first year at MIT was, it was enjoyable. Certainly not the spring semester because of coronavirus, but for the most part, I made a lot of good friends. I had a lot of good times. I think that's the most you can probably ask for.
Okay, I think we can answer two more questions. Okay, so we have a question from Wayne. How do you find the balance between playing video games and studying chemistry? Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, so a good question. I think that if I'm being frank, I don't know if I found a good balance. It was just when I studied in, I don't know, like when I was in high school, and if I were studying, it's kind of just be like, if I got bored of studying chemistry, I'd just go play games. And if I got bored of playing games, I would go do chemistry. I think sometimes it was just about setting my own limits, like when I felt I needed or I wanted to. A lot of it for me studying chemistry was self-driven. So it was just like, if I felt like I wanted to study, then I studied. And this worked out for me.
Okay, all right. Let me think. Okay, we're gonna answer one last question. Which resources do you use to learn chemistry? Do you use Khan Academy or textbooks or any tutoring services or anything?
Yeah, so when I started, I took classes from Dr. Huang. I'm sure most of you are in Indiana are familiar with him.
Mhm.
He teaches chemistry pretty well. And if you're not in Indiana, he has online classes right now, so you could go learn from him. It was the kind of starting point. He recommends textbooks like he has this like basic general chemistry textbook that you can read from. But from that's the starting point. He's a good teacher. And from there, it was just like using the internet was a big help. After I met like other people who were interested in chemistry, just talking to them, asking for resources, that was also a big help. So generally, if you're wanting to start, I would recommend, the textbook Dr. Huang uses is called Atkins, A-T-K-I-N, so you can read that one if you want.
All right. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Andrew. Okay. All right, so let's thank our speakers. Okay, Serena, Tony, and Andrew. Thank you for taking the time to share your experience with us. Okay, we are very proud of your achievements, and we wish you every success in your future endeavors. Everyone, we are always looking for inspiring speakers. So please feel free to nominate speakers to us. Okay, and if you have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to contact us. Okay, and I want to thank our sponsor, Asian Americans Today, 亚美早报，谢谢亚美早报. Okay, and that's all for tonight. Thank you all. Have a great evening and goodbye. Thank you.